Started. All right, so now we should be able to go back over. All right, well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. It is Tuesday, January 31st, and we're kind of winging this right now. Our power has gone out. We're having some severe weather in North Texas, and so I'm winging this on my iPad. Normally, I do it on my dual screen monitor. Today's a really good topic, though. I'm excited about it, and it's very timely. So as you can see, our topic today is on compliance training. Those of us who are white label partners are working with clients to gather documents for their loan package, right? That's part of what we do. We do three things. We build financial literacy, we help put together a loan package, and we help clients become credible enough for funding. Those are the three things that we do. Well, this whole concept of filing taxes on our businesses seems to be a common one, an issue, sometimes a misunderstanding that comes about. So what we put together this morning is a review of, do I need to file my taxes if my business hasn't made money yet? And as you can see here on the screen, part of that, it depends upon the structure of the company. So often you and I will run into clients or people in general that want simple answers to complicated questions. But the truth is many things are complicated. So there's not a simple yes or no. So you have to help people understand that the answer depends on the structure of the company. But we're going to go through each of those now. And again, those of you joining late, I apologize. Our power has gone out. We're having some severe weather in North Texas. So I'm winging this right now on my iPad until the power comes back up on the desktop. Okay, so the question is, do we need to file taxes if we didn't make any money yet? The answer is it depends on the structure. So first, let's look at sole proprietorships. So as defined here on the screen, sole proprietorships are a business owned by one person, not multiple people, because that would be a partnership. We'll get to that in a moment, but owned by one person. So rather than filing a specific tax return, if you're a sole proprietor, you're going to fill out Schedule C, which is a profit or loss from business operations, and you attach it to your personal income tax return, your 1040. So the question is it necessary to file a Schedule C if your business made no income? And again, the answer is maybe, right? Because again, it goes back to what we said. There's often not simple answers to questions, even though that's what the average person wants. So let's dig a little deeper. So here on this paragraph, so you can see where I'm at. So during a year with no income and no expenses, right? Because there's two types of transactions a business could have. Money coming in, money going out. Money coming in as income, money going out as expenses. So if you had no income and no expenses, you usually don't need to file Schedule C. Might still be a good idea, though. When it comes to taxes, it's better to be safe than sorry. So if you plan on not filing a return, be absolutely sure the IRS won't think you should have, and verify that you did not receive any non-income payments related to your business. Moving on down. If you had no income but expenses, in other words, didn't generate any money coming in yet, but you definitely had expenses. And most businesses will have expenses every year, paying for any inventory, paying for any professional services, so forth. But if you had no income but expenses, filing might also be a good idea. You might be wondering, can I deduct startup costs with no income? If you have no income but did have expenses, you may be eligible to receive a tax refund or credit by filing. So what's the bottom line down here at the bottom of the page for scenario one? Scenario one is sole proprietorships. The bottom line is if no income and no expenses, it's not necessary. If you had no income but you did have expenses, filing can help you get a refund or credit. So that's the answer to one scenario. There's other scenarios, right? So let's move on to the next scenario. And again, those of you that came in late, power went out here at the office this morning based upon the adverse weather. So we're winging this on my iPad right now, so I can't see full functionality. So I apologize. I don't necessarily know if anyone's asking questions or not. I don't see that with this shared screen. Okay, so the question is, do I need to file taxes if I didn't have any income? We answered that from two perspectives from a sole proprietorship. Now we're on to a partnership. Well, partnerships are businesses that are owned by two or more people, right? If it's just an individual, it's a sole proprietorship, as we just discussed. So we're on the first paragraph here. I'll highlight where we're at. If you own a partnership, you must file Form 1065, the U.S. Return of Partnership Income, and you need to distribute Schedule K1, the partner share of income, to each partner. So the question, though, still is, well, what if we didn't have any income? Do I need to file taxes? Next paragraph. If you had no income and no expenses, you do not need to file the partnership tax return. Unlike sole proprietors, verify that you don't have any hidden income or expenses that you forgot about before skipping this step. If you had no income but had expenses, you must file your information return. That way the IRS knows about payments that could be treated as deductions or credits. So what's the bottom line with partnerships? No income, no expenses, don't need to file. But if you had no income and had expenses, then we do need to file. And again, why are we going through this? Because those of us that are white label partners help clients put together their loan packages. We're gathering documents for that. And you might have a client that says, oh, I didn't file a tax return. So they may be thinking, hey, I had no income, so I don't need to file a tax return. But what we're covering here is it's a bit deeper. We should not only look at was their income, but was there expenses, and do we really need to have a tax return for the loan package? Okay, next scenario, corporations. We have two more. We have corporations and then LLCs, and then we'll wrap it up early today since we have no electricity here. All right, corporations. So a C Corp is a business structure that is a separate tax legal entity from its owners. They must file a Form 1120, the U.S. Corporation Income Tax Return. Corporations can decide to become an S Corp. S Corp owners must file Form 1120S. It's a different return for S corporations, but they follow the same guidelines for filing taxes with no income. So if you had no income, you must file the corporation income tax return, whether you had expenses or not. So this is a big deal. If you have clients that have not been filing and they're set up as a corporation, then that's going to be a problem when we go to funding, because legally they should have been filing. What if we run into that and they've not done it? Well, they could either file their past returns, or we could pursue funding with a different entity, of course. We could pivot. So what's the bottom line on corporations? And then we'll get to the most complicated one we save for last, LLCs. The bottom line is, if there's no income, no expenses, we must file. No income but expenses, we must file. So in other words, if we have a corporation, we do need to file annually. Make sense? Okay, final scenario. Now we're down to LLCs. More complicated. The form an LLC is responsible for filing depends upon how the company is taxed. An LLC might be treated as one of three. An LLC might be treated as a sole proprietorship, partnership, or a corporation. So much more complicated than a simple answer. So this chart tells us the story. If we're a sole proprietorship, taxed as a sole if we're an LLC, taxed as a sole proprietorship, we generally do not need to file if we had no expenses and no income. If we had no income but expenses, you don't have to, but it's better to be able to get a refund or credit. Next scenario. Partnerships. So LLCs that are taxed as partnerships. If we had no income, no expenses, do we need to file? Generally, no. If we had expenses, then the answer is yes, even if we didn't have income. Corporations, the LLCs taxed as corporations, we do need to file regardless of if we had income or expenses. All right, so let me stop this share. Let me get back over to each of you, pop up the Q&A, and see where we're at. So again, I apologize this morning. No power equals no PC, so we're winging this on the iPad this morning. It wasn't expected. Power went down right before we got started. So today, the goal is to talk to each of you who are white label partners and help us be better prepared for our role in helping clients. If we have clients, well, we have a list of documents that we should be helping the client gather and put into the Dropbox folder. If they don't have tax returns, we need to pause, determine when the business was formed, because today is January 31st. If the business was formed this year, as of this recording, 2023, of course, there wouldn't be a tax return. We've not gone through the year yet. But let's say they formed it December 31st of last year, just a month ago, essentially. Then they, depending upon their form of business structure, they may very well need to file a tax return. Why do we care? Because we need to gather the relevant documents based upon the client's mitigating circumstances to help them get prepared for funding. That's what we do. We gather a core set of documents, get it in their Dropbox, then we can review that and say, okay, based upon those mitigating circumstances, now here's where we should go to funding. I was working with one of our white label partners this morning. He's actually on the Zoom this morning. And so we realized, there's a couple documents that's missing from your loan package. We need to get those pulled together. All right, so again, I apologize this morning. We are having some weather issues in North and East Texas that's disrupting us, but hopefully today's content was helpful, because if you're a white label partner, it's your responsibility to work with clients to gather the right documents. We're here to support you, but this was a nice, I believe, overview of understanding if the client says, I don't have tax returns, is that a problem? Is that an issue or not? So thanks, everyone. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.